One of the most talked about skills among successful people is the ability to communicate with others and build strong relationships. This is what we often refer to as charisma. There are many definitions and intellectual perspectives surrounding this term. In The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey describes charisma as an emotional bank account that you deposit into by showing respect and practicing good listening. Dale Carnegie defines it as genuine interest in people. Jordan Peterson believes it begins with getting your own life in order first. He says true presence comes from inner discipline. Robert Greene, on the other hand, sees charisma as a combination of power, dominance, and an extraordinary reputation. And perhaps one of the most popular takes is from Olivia Fox, who breaks charisma down into 3 core traits: presence, power, and warmth. There are many others, of course, but despite all that I've read, watched, and applied in real life, I still notice a gap, something missing. And every book I read, or every rule about communicating with people, I always find its opposite in another book, or a completely different piece of advice. That's why in this video, I'm going to share my own personal perspective. We mentioned that the most popular definition of charisma is presence, power, and warmth. But there are other qualities that can't be fully captured within just those 3. So here's a better definition. Charisma is a set of interconnected traits that make the person in front of you, no matter who they are, like you, respect you, and be influenced by you. From this definition, we can break charisma down into 4 elements. Presence. How people feel about you in their first impression. It's the foundation of building any new relationship. Second, how to make people like you and enjoy spending time with you. Third, how to make people respect you and even feel a little intimidated. And lastly, how to influence people and persuade them to accept your ideas. These 4 elements, when linked together, create real charisma. But there's one essential foundation that supports them all, and that's the topic of today's video. It's something that applies to every one of those 4 elements. The first pillar is self-confidence, and the second will be the focus of the next video. This is the first episode in my series, How to Master Social Relationships. I've combined everything I've read about human connection over the past 3 years with everything I've tried and learned in real life. And believe me, I'll help you see things with total clarity. You'll learn how to earn people's respect, love, and empathy, and build relationships and social advantages that never break. Self-confidence isn't just a skill, it's an identity. It must be a part of your personality in your social life. It's the doorway that takes you from being a weak, invisible person to someone who is respected and loved. So what exactly is self-confidence? Let me give you an example. Jeff logs into an online game, any game, and ends up with a random squad, people he doesn't know. Jeff doesn't usually play much and treats gaming as casual fun, so he performs poorly, and the team loses because of him. They start laughing at him, some insult him, some mock his gameplay. Jeff, being someone who's shy and lacks confidence, starts apologizing and making excuses for the loss. After that experience, he avoids playing the game or any multiplayer game again. That's an example of someone who lacks self-confidence. But if Jeff had self-confidence, he might have laughed at his own failure or at their reaction, or simply muted them and moved on, without letting it affect his mood in the slightest. So from this example, we can define self-confidence simply and logically. Self-confidence is the ability to not take other people's criticism or words too seriously, so your mood doesn't change and your self-worth remains based on your own opinion of yourself, not theirs. Self-confidence is the shield that protects you from people's judgments. Most people, when asked about self-confidence, will tell you things like dress well, get in shape, or be rich. While these things can boost your confidence, they're not always accessible or usable at any given moment. For example, you're not going to dress up just to run to the store. So should that make you weak and timid at that moment? No, because self-confidence is something internal. It's mental. It has nothing to do with your muscles, looks, or money. Now I want you to listen very carefully. The only thing that will give you real self-confidence is your actions. Most confident people you see have already gone through uncomfortable, awkward, or nerve-wracking situations, and they got used to it. That's because your brain reacts with stress and fear when it sees you doing something unfamiliar fear, like public speaking, talking to someone you like, or going to a job interview. Your brain wants to protect you, so it floods you with stress. But over time, it rewires itself and builds new neural pathways that make those actions easier. It's like learning to drive. You're nervous at first, but it gets easier the more you practice. So the only real path to confidence is through repeated exposure to uncomfortable situations. The more often you face them, the more your resistance to fear increases, and confidence is built. But I won't leave you to suffer alone. I'll give you the exact way to build this kind of confidence. And not just any confidence, I'm talking about crazy confidence. And from here, the video really begins. Now let me give you the real transformation with one powerful example that this video revolves around. Imagine you're waiting at a bus stop or for a taxi. A very beautiful woman arrives and waits next to you. You start feeling nervous, sweating a little, and pull out your phone to pretend you're busy. You stay in that anxious state until the transport arrives and both of you go your separate ways. This example explains everything. It shows one simple truth. You gave yourself a much lower value than the value you gave her. That's what caused the fear, nervousness, and sweating. And this brings us to the real topic of today's video. The first issue is about your own value, and the second will be about the value you assign to others. The puzzling question now is, what made you assign yourself such a low value while assigning others such a high one? Most people respond to this question with something degrading, like, I'm not good looking, I'm not famous, I don't have a great body, or I'm not rich. But listen closely, self-confidence isn't something physical, it's a choice. If you want to be confident, you must choose to give yourself the highest possible value, regardless of how you look, your body shape, or your financial situation. None of that truly matters. You must give yourself a high value for one reason only. This is your life. The highest value you'd give someone else? Give it to yourself. This is your life, and your well-being should come before anything else. You are the most important person in your life, and because of that, you must accept the greatest value you can assign to yourself without hesitation. The truth is, people treat you based on the price you put on yourself. Humans are extremely superficial. They'll believe and accept whatever value you present. If you act like a weak person, you'll be treated like one. You won't be taken seriously. But if you act with confidence and self-respect, you'll be treated with respect and admiration. Robert Greene has a brilliant quote in his book, The 48 Laws of Power, Law 34. The way you carry yourself will often determine how you are treated. In the long run, appearing vulgar or common will make people disrespect you. For a king respects himself and inspires the same sentiment in others. By acting regally and confident of your powers, you make yourself seem destined to wear a crown. Whatever price you set for yourself, people have no choice but to accept it. If you treat others as someone of high value, they'll treat you accordingly, with respect. And if you treat yourself as someone of little value, they'll accept that too, with disregard, or even mockery and disrespect. So, be a king to be treated like one. Before we move on, accept once and for all that you are the most important person in your life. And because of that, you must assign yourself the highest value. Get used to seeing yourself as someone important wherever you are. Look at yourself as a person of dignity, of principles. Walk like someone confident. Keep your back straight, your shoulders open, and your eyes forward. And don't hesitate to smile at anyone who looks at you. Eventually, your mind will accept this identity, and it will become second nature. So never ever lower your worth in front of anyone at any time. Work hard to cement this image of yourself. As Robert Greene says at the end of the same law, the crown. Place it upon your head and you assume a different pose, tranquil yet radiating assurance. Never show doubt, never lose your dignity beneath the crown, or it will not fit. It will seem to be destined for one more worthy. Do not wait for a coronation. The greatest emperors crown themselves. Knowing your true worth and the value you assign to yourself is not enough to build unshakable self-confidence. The second part of the puzzle lies in the girl who is standing next to you at the bus stop. Have you ever wondered why you feel no anxiety when you're around your friends? Most likely it's because you know their true value. You know their flaws and weaknesses. Unlike strangers, whom you tend to see as perfect, ideal, and better than you in every way. Let me break down this flawed way of thinking into 3 points, and I'll use the example of that girl at the bus stop to illustrate them. First, this girl is living in the most distracted era in history. She probably spends most of her time on her phone, and believe me, nothing destroys a person's self-worth and confidence like social media. She sees her friends getting more attention on their stories and begins to feel inadequate. Then she sees another girl posting about her slim body, and she feels even worse, seeing herself as fat. In short, any comparison between a real person and someone's social media is a losing game. You're comparing your normal reality to someone else's best moments, and that's never fair. People are greedy by nature. They always crave what they don't have. No matter how blessed someone is, they'll still feel unsatisfied. We live in the most unhappy era in history. Every day, this negativity floods her and everyone else's mind, making life feel more depressing. Even someone who is feeling happy and content can become miserable after just 10 minutes of scrolling, and this is actually good news for you because it helps you see these people for what they really are. Just ordinary people. Their minds are unprotected, constantly affected by distractions, rumors, and marketing tricks. They often feel inferior and insecure, which means they assign themselves a lower value than they assign to strangers like you. Secondly, there is a law in human nature that says people tend to underestimate themselves and overestimate others. To prove this, just remember yourself right before playing a football or basketball game. Didn't you think the others were more skilled than you? Or when exam papers were being handed out, didn't it feel like everyone else was writing their answers with confidence while you were stuck? And the best example? Your current friends. Remember how you saw them the first time you met them, how impressive they seemed, and how you see them now. This law affects everyone, not just you. That girl at the bus stop may have been nervous about you too. If you see her as a 9 and yourself as a 5, she might see you as a 7 and herself as an 8, or even the other way around. In short, she's likely giving you a higher value than she gives herself, and you're doing the same in reverse. Use this law to your advantage. If people are already assigning you a higher value than they assign themselves, and you also begin to raise your own value, then act like it. Let your actions match how people see you. This way, they will continue to treat you based on the value they initially assigned you. But if you behave like you did with the girl at the bus stop, nervous and withdrawn, then be prepared to face the consequences. Third, after food and water, the thing humans need most is attention. That girl constantly wants to look her best so people will compliment her. She posts stories to get more likes than her friends. She checks over and over to see how many views she got, who liked her story, and anxiously searches for positive comments. This is deeply sad, not just for her, but for almost everyone. People constantly compare themselves to those above them and feel less valuable in return. They're all chasing validation, approval, and a sense of importance. And this makes nearly everyone around you emotionally fragile and attention-starved. Once you truly understand this, you'll start seeing people differently. Many of them are empty inside, craving attention while constantly undervaluing themselves. And once you grasp this truth, you'll stop putting them on a pedestal. You'll realize how unremarkable they really are and start living with this perspective always in mind. Lesson summary: you've learned that self-confidence is simply the price you assign to yourself. It's your armor, protecting you from the negativity of others. You've understood that your importance and well-being outweigh anyone else's, and that you must give yourself the highest value possible because this is your life and you are the most important person in it. You also now see that most people around you are far from confident. They're weakened by social media, unhappy with themselves, and desperate for attention. They don't even assign themselves a high value, so why should you ever see them as superior to you? Now that you understand this, you must act on it. As I told you before, this can only be done through your actions. Everything I just told you now will be useless if you don't start applying it immediately. Always put yourself in conversations and situations that make you feel nervous around people. And since you now understand the truth about these people, their deep insecurities, and at the same time you know your true worth, it will become easier to deal with such situations. But that doesn't mean you won't feel nervous. You must constantly saturate your mind with this perspective about people and about yourself, and act around others as if this mindset were already part of you. As I told you, it won't take long before your brain starts to believe that this pretending is reality, and the act will transform into identity. You'll start dealing with anyone, no matter who they are, with overwhelming confidence. And in return, that confidence will earn you respect and admiration. That's why self-confidence is one of the core foundations of charisma. It's something that will stay with you for life. In the next video, we'll talk about the second foundation, which is directly connected to self-confidence. Then we'll move on to the 4 elements of charisma. So don't forget to subscribe to be notified when the next video is out. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.